For the Friday edition of the Mike and Mario show. We're back and excited to be back for another week to talk about prior events as well as looking ahead, trying to navigate these choppy waters. But before we do that, Mario, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, and yes, looking forward to the weekend. And
Mhm.
it was been quite an eventful week, I guess, geopolitically, economically.
Yeah. Yeah, never a dull moment in this restructuring, global monetary restructuring is what I like to call it. But today we had some interesting figures come out, and we'll go over those as well as talk about outside of what we're being told, central banks are still getting their weight up in a very alarming rate. So that lets us know that they're also preparing for some changes as well. But I hope everyone is doing well. As always, definitely feel free to throw out thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the chat, and then we will address them as we move throughout the show. And so let's just jump on, I guess, the primary. I got a little chart up here. I'll put it up here on the screen. But here we have the non-farm payrolls that came out today. And just looking at this visual aid here, something just doesn't seem right, given all the current downward trajectory of all the global indicators. But for some reason, there's a 528 jobs that were, I guess, added within the month of June. So what are your thoughts on this? Where did this come from? Is this more of the illusionary statistics they love selling the world, or what?
Yeah, 528,000, of course. There's a few factors. One is the birth death model.
Mm-hmm.
And they added for this month 309,000 just because of the birth. I'm not really sure what that is, but it's like they think there's a lot of people being born, so there's more. It's just crazy. And the other thing I would say about non-farm payroll is
Mm-hmm.
it's that it's a household survey, so they go around calling maybe a few hundred people in each state or
Yeah.
businesses, and they do a survey of how they're hiring, and they
Mm-hmm.
extrapolate that for the whole country. That's
Yeah.
how they come up with this number. But the other thing I would say, and I'm going to share something here
Yeah.
from Rafi Faber, and I really recommend people look at his newsletter. It's on Seeking Alpha. It's the End Game Investor. Let
Mm-hmm.
me just get it ready here. And he kind of explains why this is happening. So let's go here. So there you go. So I'll show you here the End Game Investor. So I think it's about $250 a year, and he
Mm-hmm.
writes like almost every day, and he's really good. I think I have him on my live streams on Sunday once in a while. But
Yeah.
so here, let's see how he explains it. What the blowout jobs number means. So he says economics is just basic logic. So let's revert to basic logic. Return to Weimar. People are miserable, starving, but the unemployment rate is extremely low. Everyone's working for a dying currency. And in GDP terms, everything is booming and everyone's a billionaire. Whoopie doo. As for those who say GDP is adjusted in real terms, no, it's not. That's a lie. The adjustment is token. Those who say the high employment means we are not in a recession are also delusional. If everyone is working for 5 cents an hour as a slave and there's full employment and we're all starving, life sucks. As for employment, labor is simply rented humans. If the price of rent, real estate, or labor is going up, you'll try to rent or employ what you can and lock in a rate for the year or however long you can,
Mhm.
knowing you'll be saving money if you rent ASAP. So I'll stop at that. And I I would say it's partly because of this, what Rafi's talking about,
Yeah.
and also partly political because
Mhm.
they want to be able to come out and say, yes, we've had two consecutive quarters of negative GDP. We're probably going to have a third one, but we're not in a recession because everyone's working. Uh,
Right.
and they're earning, their earnings is going up 2, 3, 4, 5%, but
Mhm.
you have inflation at 11 or 12, so
Right.
everyone's worse off.
Right. So adjusted for real, so just adjusted for the real rate, it's already negative. So yeah, so is this a continuous west or United States led narrative of trying to paint the picture as being somewhat not as bleak as the rest of the world, where I mentioned how the UK, it's everywhere. I'm seeing all types of headlines talking about recession in this year and possible strikes and not paying bills in the UK and Australia's. So it's like only the US is still keeping that rosy picture of things are, stable. And we all know that's a dang lie. But let me share with you some more graphics here, just to let you know, well beyond the obvious two consecutive contracting GD quarters or whatever. But here we have more data. Let me grab this real quick here. So here we talk about wages, hourly earnings. So year over year, it's still trending downward. So despite what we're being sold, people are not bringing home nowhere near enough to sustain themselves, to paint that rosy picture. And then here's another little graph as well. Here's that you mentioned this before we went on air, but the U.S. Treasury 10-year, 2-year yield curve, and it's as low as it has been going back to the year 2000 inversion wise. So that's another little recessionary indicator.
Oh yeah, big time.
And there was another one. Nope, it wasn't. So yeah, so those are just some things I thought I would bring up to give you give people more of a realistic viewpoint of what's really happening in Main Street, regardless of what they're trying to feed us. But we're here at that point, man. This is a very interesting time frame because based upon the numbers given to us, I'm seeing more articles talking about how that sets the Federal Reserve up in a very favorable light to definitely do the three-quarter point hike next month. And so they're basically saying it's baked into the cake. It's like if they might even do a whole point according to the way those numbers are so rosy. I saw one article talk about. So, but that's just what they're trying to sell us, man.
The thing is, what that's going to do, I think, is going to make things even worse, cost of living wise.
Yeah,
because it's going to. I think we're already seeing the States some high levels of like car debt. People are reneging on car loans,
right.
And pretty soon we're going to see people get in trouble with their mortgage payments, not just in the US, here in the UK as well. I was reading this afternoon that already since the Bank of England's decision yesterday to raise rates by 50 basis points, loads of mortgage lenders have taken loads of deals off the table. So it's going to make the housing market more subdued. The UK economy is heavily dependent on real estate and construction. That's going to hurt it even more. And the other thing that's happening here in the last few years, especially since the pandemic, a lot of people like over 50, they've been taking capital or equity out of their houses like an ATM because especially in the last year, because they can't afford to pay their bills.
Right.
And they have an interest to pay on that every year, and that's rising. So it's a huge problem, and that's why maybe the Bank of England is being honest about the fact that they actually say they expect a recession the next 18 months. They expect the unemployment rate to go from 3 to 6%, and I think they're being actually honest on that, but they're dishonest on other things because this guy there on the picture, the governor, Andrew Bailey, he's blaming everyone but the Bank of England and the government. I made a video this morning about this, and the Bank of England, since the beginning of the century, their balance sheet has gone from less than 5% of GDP to 50%. So basically, they've printed half the UK economy in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Is it any wonder that the currency has gone down the drain and we have high prices?
Yeah. And I think that was the whole premise of the central banking model, is to be the crutch for governments. And of course, the governments have expanded along the way. Government employment and entitlements and all that other stuff has grown rampant to where people have been conditioned to expect the state or the government to come in and support them and be their primary caregivers. And when things go awry, which is what we're witnessing now, because I also saw in the UK about the energy bill. They gave out $400, but then I saw another article saying that $400 basically funneled right into the energy companies' pockets, basically, so it's a subsidy for the energy companies on top of them already having all-time high in profits and things. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's more of a tax on the people because they gotta that next month they gotta come out of their own pockets with what they may or may not have. So it's just complete chaos out here, man. But this is what it is, man. But so I showed you the article here, and then on the other side here in the U.S., this is the type of stuff we see here. Fed Bullard sees more interest rate hikes ahead and no U.S. recession. So completely different narrative, same economic conditions. Inflation is it's in real terms, inflation globally is already double digits, flat out. But yet they're still giving us those fake numbers.
I mean, it's weird because uh, here on our side, GDP is actually still. I'm not sure. It might have gone negative the second quarter, but it's actually running better than the U.S. It's
Yeah.
actually positive, and we're the Bank of England at least is admitting that there will be a recession, while in the U.S. is negative already first and second quarter. And this bozo Bullard has come out and say that there's they're gonna raise rates and there's gonna be no recession. But I think it's what Rafi said. We're in the middle of a dying currency, and most people don't see the dollar as dying. They see it as a strong currency, which is really, uh, I would say it's really sad because the way to look at the dollar is what it buys.
Yeah.
It's buying less and less of everything that you need. Yes, it might be buying a few more euro cents and more some more pounds, but only because the pound and the euro are collapsing a lot quicker than the dollar. And yeah, those people who believe in the strong dollar, I mean, you need to think of in terms of what.
Right. And speaking of strong dollar, I noticed that after those numbers came out today, I was looking at because I occasionally just happen to drift over to see what market activity is like, and of course the dollar index, is 106. It's in the green, and it's just amazing to see how the strength of the Federal Reserve System, aka the dollar, how much damage it's causing all across the world, to where it's forcing nations to flee from their own currencies in hopes of being able to get something relatively more stable, more sound. Because regardless as to what our viewpoints on the dollar is, people are still running the dollar for savings because of their own currencies are being completely destroyed. So it's getting propped up in a fake manner just because people think it's the best form of something to have that you can actually get hold of, especially Argentina and Chile. I'm reading down.
Yeah,
Down there.
a lot of people in these emerging market countries, they view the dollar as almost as good as gold, which we know it isn't.
Right.
But they'll get like a rude awakening eventually as well, I think.
Very true. And then also, yesterday I did a little video talking about how this I call it the currency crisis map, basically just showing that the more red spreads across this map here in reference to the inflation numbers that we're being given, even though we know they're lowballed. But even so, like, just I've been watching this chart for some time now, and this map is just getting redder and redder, signifying just the fiat currency game imploding.
Yeah.
Because wherever it's dark red, it's already 64% Argentina. We know Venezuela's
Yeah, even the Netherlands, which you think of a pretty frugal country,
yeah,
and responsible. I think their CPI came out this week. It was 11% or something. If you click on the
so I'm gonna go. Let me see 1 second here. Netherlands. So
Netherlands,
10.3.
10.3. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
Look at these figures, man. This is just Europe in general. 9, 9,
Yeah.
9, 10. And we know these are lowball numbers. So
I think the UK government, the Office of National Statistics, from May this year, they've tweaked the CPI, so probably makes a 1% difference. So they're gonna adjust, and their excuses, they're gonna say, "Oh, we've adjusted to make it more to reflect more the rise in prices." They use all these. It's all like spin to basically hide the real debasement of the currency, and unfortunately, it's going to get worse. And yeah, it's really sad that a lot of people don't realize this is happening. They
Yeah.
they believe what they've been told, that it's temporary. It's
Hmm.
because of the war in Ukraine and COVID, and that everything is going to be okay. Even the Bank of England, they're saying CPI is going up to 13% maybe by the
Hmm.
end of the year, but in 2 years' time, they magically see CPI back to 2%.
Yeah.
How?
I
I
saw
mean,
that article, man. Yeah,
uh,
I'm thinking like it's just amazing how, and they said within, I think it said within 15 months, things will be back. I'm like, how do you come up with those figures in your mind?
it's
So there's
called wishful thinking.
right, yeah. So I'm just thinking like the at what point do you think, or within the next year or two, will we see an event that will prevent this of some capacity, or will every pretty much country on this map be blazing red?
I
Of course,
think
I
they
think the U.S. will be the last one because it's a reserve currency. But will an event occur before all this to where we are, introducing something entirely new, i.e., that alternative currency from out east, or what are you thinking? What's some scenarios possibly?
Well, all these countries, governments, and politicians, all they know is how to inflate,
Hmm.
and we've gone so far already creating this debt bubble.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to get redder and redder, and the other reason why I think it's going to get redder and redder is that a lot of people don't understand inflation, and they think like the Bank of England that just because they wish it to, that it will go back to
hmm,
below 2%. But I think it's going to change people's psychology when they see prices of food, energy going up every month. They're going to start buying more because they're,
yeah,
they're going to say, oh, this is going to go up in 2 months, 3 months time, so let me buy more, and that's going to shrink even more the supply. And the same thing will happen maybe to the labor market, like Rafi said, because it's so cheap to hire, slaves, as he calls it,
yeah.
that employers are going to hire as well now instead of waiting until the slaves ask for higher wages. And I'm not trying to be, this
That's
is a
yeah.
joke here, of course. I'm not like, so that, and he said, and I agree with him, eventually when everything implodes, then there will be 60, 70% unemployment. It will be total
Mm,
devastation.
yeah. And so noticed in the chat someone mentioned probably the safest place to be, and they put Greenland.
Greenland.
Yeah, and so looking on there, I'm trying to find any type of stats from Greenland itself, and nothing is popping
Uh,
up really. So
there's some small towns there. It's pretty cold though most of the time.
yeah, I know along the edges there's some smaller towns
I,
just
I
because I
think Trump may put a bid on for Greenland, didn't he?
yeah.
He wanted to buy it from Denmark, and they said no.
So yeah, I thought that's funny. But as of right now, I did find something, but I don't know if it's up to date. But let me zoom out. But it just says here, this is outdated stats. It says 2020, but as we can see, there's not much, not much commerce going in and out.
It's
Other
a
than I'm sure
very
there's
very
fishing.
very small economy. I mean, uh, they probably depend a lot on the Danish government. They
Yeah,
probably send them a lot of uh, aid, I would say.
yeah, they do. They do. All right, let's keep moving right
What
along. We
about
got to.
Antarctica, Mike? That seems like an interesting place.
That's off limits. So to my knowledge, there's only military operations there and whoever else, private entities, but no public.
Admiral Byrd went there, and he said there's a continent there as big as the United States.
Yeah. That's the will we ever find out in his life? Probably not. We will never find out, but I'm sure there's no concerns of inflation down there for whatever that's worth. All right, let's get to some other topics. So we got to definitely touch on the geopolitical side of things. So this came out earlier, based upon Pelosi being, very persistent of visiting Taiwan for less than 24 hours, and the results of that is that China's ramping up activity, and passing some sanctions and things like that. But this came out today. China's 68 planes and 13 warships crossed Taiwan's median line days after Pelosi's visit. So is this that next event, perhaps, or what's is this just jawboning or what? What do you think? Is this worth paying attention to?
I think so, even though I think a lot of it is to try to keep people scared
Hmm.
and keep people from looking at the real problem, which is the currency collapse.
Yeah,
But I think they're trying to build it up into the next Ukraine crisis, where the West and NATO are totally against Russia.
yeah,
Now they're trying to do the same thing with China, I think, and it's gonna make things. It could make the the crisis that we've had,
hmm,
which they're blaming a lot of things on because of the Ukraine, even bigger with China, because China is they're the supermarket for the world. They
right,
produce a lot of things.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, I look at it as the U.S. continue to provoke and to instigate conflict, the way that we're always entangled in some
yeah,
type of affair.
maybe it helps China too, because I guess this year I think it's an anniversary. I think is it the 70th anniversary of the Communist Party, and they have a some kind of big conference.
Hmm.
And I think Xi Jinping is supposed to get reelected, and the economy isn't doing well in China. You've got the real
Right,
estate collapse, so they need an enemy as well to point to
right,
rally the domestic crowd.
correct,
So it probably helps both countries that they're in this thing, and it helps the military sector, industrial complex as well.
right. Because everybody's ramping up for some type of war, so everybody's spending more on their defense budgets
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Um, Here's another article here.
Especially when the private economy is down in the dumps, when we have so much debt and inflation. The
Yeah,
last resort is like for the government to take over and create this crisis so that we can spend and borrow even more on the back of the taxpayer.
that'll be a way of stimulating naturally because it'll be needed. And here's a little article here. I'm getting some back feed on my side. What am I doing something wrong? But no, here China imposes trade sanctions on Taiwan over Pelosi visit, but leaves out one critical item. Guess what the item is they left out of the sanctions list? You gotta give me a guess. Any guess? And I'll tell you.
Let me read that again. China imposes trade sanction. The- oh, is that about? I don't know. Is that? I don't know.
Semiconductors.
Oh yeah.
They don't want to touch that because it says Taiwan shipped 104 billion worth of chips to
Oh yeah,
factories in
Taiwan is
mainland China.
yeah, they're important in terms of the semiconductor.
Right. So, so it's partial sanctions. Just like the U.S., we sanction Russia, but we didn't want to touch the energy when it came to energy coming our way. So everything but energy. So it's just more. Oh man, it's for more crap. Anyway,
We've
let's get
got
into
a
super
couple
chats.
of super chats there if
Yeah.
you want to read them.
Chris, appreciate you, man. Says, will the UK economy implode before the US economy? If it does, what will be the implications of the US economy? Thanks. That's a great question. I believe it will. And that goes back to my thought about that inflation map. The inflation map it's going to grow hot all around us, and the U.S. would probably be the last country. And prior to getting to that point, I think there'll be some event or some complete announcement of some kind in the form of that alternative that the world's waiting on. So I don't know if it'll get to that point, but that's just my thoughts on it. But yeah, I think so. What do you think, Mar?
I agree with you because, like you said, the U.S. is at the center, and the periphery will fall first. So yeah, the U.K. is in the periphery.
Yeah, and they were once a world superpower as well, 100 plus, 120 some years ago. But things change. Miles says, do you believe the prince increases are self-fulfilling prophecy? I keep Hearthstone argument. I believe the prince increases. Oh, I'm Prince. Price increases. Oh my goodness. Do you believe the price increases are a self-fulfilling prophecy? Yeah, partially, but then again, I'm also hearing on my side. I'm also hearing more about the prices decreasing in certain things due to a backlog of inventory. So a lot of people over here, there's major sales going on right now because there's more than enough product that was ordered after the whole shutdown stuff. So
Yeah,
because of what you're referring to.
The thing is, the Austrian school, von Mises, he sees the price increases, and the runaway inflation is when people the general public, not us here,
Mhm.
because we've been following, looking at this for years. When they realize that the government and the central bank won't be able to ever stop inflating
Mhm.
and by inflating I mean creating more debt and credit, they will realize that the currency they're holding is becoming worth less and less, and they're
Yeah.
going to try to get rid of it as much as possible. Yeah, so it is self-fulfilling, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Happens for a reason, because they lose faith in the management of the currency. But von Mises also says that even during an inflation, there are products and commodities that can go down in
Mhm.
price. uh, I mean, this year it's been financial assets that have gone down in price,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean to say that the currency isn't collapsing. And so to answer his question, yes, it will become self fulfilling, but not in a vacuum.
Yeah. Good point. Here's another question here. This is S400 says, if you think Biden is the last president before this big transition, will there be a Congress? And if not, what takes his place in your opinion? Great question. So I think this plays into my little thesis that at this current moment, due to where we're at in this current monetary paradigm, that the Federal Reserve note and this current administration will be the last of its kind before some type of complete shakeout or shifting of our government takes place. So, what could come about, is no way of telling, but I think it all depends on the people. Because if we, the people, meaning all 300 plus million of us in this country here, wake up and realize what we have been subjected to over the last 100 plus years under the Federal Reserve model, I think people will demand change, and we can probably take back our government in some capacity. How it would play out, I don't know, but I think if people wake up in time, there's hope to be able to put some people in positions of power, create more transparency, and try to get back to some type of sound monetary practices, as well as holding our government's expenditures in check. So it is
Yeah.
possible. I wouldn't even begin to know, but yeah, I like to be hopeful in that regard there. But if we don't wake up, then they'll take over more and expand, and they'll literally enslave us even more, I think. So
Or
that's
you you could see a total collapse of the federal government, and you
mm-hmm,
could go back to a pre 1787 United States of America,
mm-hmm,
more to like a confederacy of states
yeah,
with a very small central government or no central government. I think that would be a good thing for each state to be sovereign.
mm-hmm,
As for the Federal Reserve, uh, yeah, I don't see any reform or going back to sound money. The only thing that would solve that would be to abolish or end the Fed.
mm-hmm,
Those people out there who think the Fed is become reckless because of bad management. No, I think it's always been the plan to
yeah,
basically steal America. That's what Charles Lindbergh Sr. warned against. He was a congressman from Minnesota in
mm-hmm,
1913, and he said it would be the greatest financial crime in history to allow the money trust, he called it, to create
mm-hmm,
that central bank.
yeah.
And over 100 years later,
He was right.
he
That's
was
where we're
right.
at.
That's
Oh man.
where we're at.
Here's another. It says, Mike Mario, what do you guys think about Musk saying recession will be slight, i.e., a soft landing? And so I wasn't familiar with that. So I did pull up a little headline that came out a couple hours ago. But it's a Wall Street says Elon Musk predicts a mild recession for 18 months. Says inflation has peaked. And so I'm not quite sure how they get these dates and time frames, but I assume he has a reason for saying that. I'm not sure what he sees on his end, but he is, the wealthiest in Federal Reserve notes term public figure anyway. So, what do you think of this? Like, how do you think these people come up with these figures, man?
Well, he's wealthy, but he's done it through business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think well, I think he's wrong. I don't think
Yeah,
inflation has peaked, and I
yeah.
don't think the recession will be mild. So I think he's maybe trying to help the Fed.
All right, I don't doubt because he's got more support from the U.S. government, all the contracts and all the space
Yeah,
staff,
I mean,
and all that other
Tesla
stuff.
almost went out of business after the '08 crisis.
Yeah, but somehow it happened to made it through with some government help, and he's
Mm,
now number one.
yeah.
And
Now he's helping the government
right,
with this kind
exactly.
of talk.
Exactly. All right, let's get some more questions out here. So let's answer some questions. Feel free to throw out thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and then we'll also give our thoughts on what we expect for the rest of this month, based upon what's projected and things of that nature. Let me know if you see any questions out there.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Highlight at rethinking dollar stands out better. It says, here's one. What do you think about the talk of Bank of England being put back under government control, and would it be better if it was?
Well, I think the best thing would be to also abolish the Bank of England, but that's probably not going to happen.
Hmm.
But if you go back to prior to 1997, when the
Hmm.
Bank of England was not independent, things weren't that, at least interest rates were more normal.
Hmm.
I mean, back in the early 90s, we had double digit interest rates here.
Hmm.
And yes, we had a recession, but it was needed, booms and busts. So, yeah, I wouldn't see a problem with that actually,
Yeah.
because what this central bank independence, Bank of England independence, has done is made everyone complacent about inflation because they think the Bank of England has done a great job, and they haven't. They've fudged the numbers in the last few months.
Yeah.
They've gone back because last year, if you look at the 1997 to 2020, which is the period since when they became independent, CPI was running at 2.7%. Their target was 2. So
Hmm.
they're running almost 1% more. But now they've changed those numbers and it's only saying 1.9 because they're trying to I don't know what they're trying to do because it's a government number. So, and I don't really think the Bank of England is that independent because when we had COVID and even the referendum in 2016, when the currency was under pressure and the debt market was under pressure, the Bank of England came out and started doing QE, and that only helps the government because they buy government debt.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, they're not independent
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, and the fact that they've tried to sell that, because as of this current moment, more people have woken up to the fact that they're all interconnected. They're working hand in hand, and it's becoming a problem, and that's what we're experiencing. It says, Mike and Mario, would it be smart to be more aggressive to eliminate debt? I'm diversified, have some cash, weight stashed away. I'm prepared. I'm prepped food and grow as much as I can. Yeah, that's sound like you're on the right pathway. The least you owe somebody else, the better. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's better to be a creditor than a debtor any day. So, uh,
Yeah,
what do you say?
here in the UK, a lot of people in the last few years have taken big interest-only mortgages. Rates were really low, and the mantra was that interest rates are not never going to rise that much, because they've been like under zero for 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
But now it's quickly going up, and I bet there will be a lot of people who are sorry they took on such big mortgages.
Yeah.
um, I guess when I was younger, when I got married and we bought our first family home, I did take a mortgage. I did have a pretty good job, um, but if you can pay off debt, I think is the best thing.
Hmm.
I know that debt gets written off during inflation and even hyperinflation, but when you are in the beginning of the inflation, uh, and your costs start going up
Hmm.
and your mortgage payments start going up, then you could lose that your house
Yeah.
or anything else. We're seeing now that in the US a lot of car loans are being defaulted upon.
Hmm.
I think there's over 1 trillion in car loans. It's almost become like the new subprime.
Yeah.
And yeah, try to
Yeah.
avoid that.
Eliminate as much as you can. That would be the goal. Here's one from Matthew. Says, do you think that they are waiting for a reason to go back to quantitative easing, like a market crash caused by the Taiwan invasion? Yeah, I mean, amongst the military situation, it'll just be. It's. at some point we're going to have a world excursion, some type of world war. It just seems like it's inevitable because China and Russia are partnering on what they're trying to execute in the West. I don't see them sitting around and just saying, okay, yeah, you guys can, run the next monetary system without us having any hiccups. So there's going to be a major clash of some kind. And therefore, that right there, they need funds to do that. So that's when I can see them cutting on the printing press and all nations and saying, we got to fund this. And yeah, how it plays out, who knows? But yeah, that's QE seems inevitable. But then again, it's a matter of at what time will it start again? Officially.
Well, and even the Fed's balance sheet, they're supposed to be QT now, and it has hardly gone down.
Right.
They're supposed to have started doing it in June, and here we are in August, and it's barely budged.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, like you're talking about a major war, and it is possible because I think Russia just came out and said that if there's a conflict in Taiwan, they will help out the Chinese. So they're aligning each other with each other, China and Russia.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't see that one. Let me look up that.
Well, I think I was listening to maybe the Duran, and they were talking about that.
Yeah. So yeah, we know that now they have plans for something.
And China didn't really condemn Russia's special operation
Yeah.
in Ukraine.
What else we got here? Be trust replacements. Let me see. Any other questions here? It will be possible for corporations. Will it be possible for corporations to generate wealth in America when most seems to be towards taxing hundreds of millionaires or more out of their existence? Who pays their taxes? I don't understand that. Will it be possible for corporations to generate wealth in America? I don't know. Their moves would be.
Yeah, I think corporations, they've done very well from globalization in the last 30, 40 years. I think the sector that's getting hurt, that creates real organic jobs, are like the small businesses, mom and pop businesses.
Yeah.
They're the ones under pressure.
Right. I mean, actually, speaking of which, you sent that visual aid showing how much pressure they're under. Let me up here.
Yeah,
So
that's the one.
Damn, what's going on? So this chart here shows where we're at now when it comes to small business index.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this job creation we're seeing now, surprising job creation, is probably people who are retired or are hard up. They're whatever they're earning through their pensions is not enough, so they're going to work for a big corporation doing like a few hours a week and just to get something. And that shows to me the fact that small businesses are are not in great shape. It's a bad sign for the economy, I would say, because when you start a small business and you employ people, you care about the people that you employ. They're not just a number that you can get rid of like a big corporation.
Right. And I also factor in the next style of the global governance structure that's being set up based upon what the World Economic Forum has put out there about this reset that they're all working towards, is that public-private partnerships where, the companies that have signed up or jumped on board with the government's agenda as well, they're all going to figure out how to profit off this transition using technology in some capacity. So there'll still be revenue to be made by those big tech companies, but there's going to be a much smaller group of companies participating. And of course, it's going to be the pharmaceuticals and, Wall Streets and banks, all they still going to be, involved. But small businesses are meant to be completely annihilated. So, yeah, not pleasant. Here's one from Matthew. It says, do you think that climate change is used as a ruse to launder billions of dollars? Yeah, I do. I agree. I think so 100%.
Well, I think the biggest purpose of the climate changes has been changing ever since there's been a planet.
Right.
But what they're telling us is that it's anthropogenic, which means that it's created by humans. But I think that's just a cover to, because if you create this crisis of climate change that it's produced by humans and human activity,
Yeah.
it gives you an excuse to create global governance. So, and the bankers are really behind this climate change agenda. You can Google Lionel de Rothschild and Maurice Strong. They were the ones who set up UNCED, United Nations Climate, it's UNCED. They set up the first climate change COP, climate conference in Rio,
Yeah.
Brazil, 1992. Yeah, so yeah, there probably is some money laundering going through there, but I also think I saw a little video somewhere that a lot of this climate change agenda
Mhm.
is hurting emerging market countries, because a lot of these countries, they want to industrialize countries
Yeah.
in Africa so that they can get wealthier and be healthier. But with all this climate change agenda, it's like uh, not allowing them to develop like the West has developed over the last 200 years.
Right.
And I think it's a great crime, even though a lot of people think I'd be a climate change denier. But in the Middle Ages, from 14, I think it was from 14, in the Middle Ages, supposedly it was really warm in
Mhm.
Europe, and then towards, I think, the 1600s to like 1800, we had a little ice age. The River Thames here in London used to freeze every winter,
Mm.
and now we're in a period a bit like in the Middle Ages where it's warming up. So the climate changes naturally, I would say, uh,
Right.
and but that doesn't mean I don't think people should, treat the planet with respect.
Right.
Not pollute
Right. And I mean, it's
and
the only
do.
planet we got to live on for now. So, but that's why there's a race to get to other planets, just because it's unsustainable here. And I hate people talk about, the population's too big. We gotta limit the population and all that crap. So, let's touch on metals before we wind down, man. I couldn't help myself earlier. I saw this once those figures came out. We saw immediate smackdown from what looks like $20
There
down
you
to
go.
that down to 1954 or something like that.
One of my
They
favorite
recovered.
coins, 64 half dollar. There you
Yeah.
go.
Oh man, so
The
they're not done.
metals, yeah, metals have had. I mean, gold has had a pretty good week. We got up to almost 1,800 yesterday and today, and
Yeah,
then we had these really strong jobs data, and they slammed gold down to 1465. We're now
yeah.
at 1775, which is still almost $100 higher than we were a few weeks ago
Mhm.
when we got to around 1680.
Yeah.
Silver was slammed down to 1953. We're
Mhm.
now back to 1990. So I think this is temporary,
Yeah.
and I think we should worry more. And we've spoken about this, Mike, more about how much weight you have and how much that gold and silver will be able to be bartered for
Mhm.
real things in the future. We should be less and less worried about its value in fiat currency.
Right. Right. Because it's definitely going to be pricing something other than USD in the future. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, before the end of this decade, we'll be pricing things in a completely different measurement of some kind. No telling how, what, who's going to set it. But of course, we'll still be spending some form of a dollar here in America, just like you'll be spending some form of a
Who
pound, more
knows?
than likely.
Maybe not even. Maybe we'll
Really?
be quoting things in grams of silver or ounces. Silver will be used as the
Right.
currency, and
Right.
gold will be used as money. For savings.
Yeah. Which is possible. And then, of course, I'm sure you got people out there who says we're going to be quoting things in Satoshis.
Well, yeah. Why? Well,
Hopefully, there's options. I wouldn't mind having 5 or 6 different options rather than just a
I don't
single.
care if people want to deal in satoshis. They can.
Right.
In
I'll
the,
accept it. I accept Satoshis, so I don't mind.
but the thing
Oh
is,
man.
it's really expensive to transfer to satoshis.
Yeah, but then they got the Lightning Network now, so they're
Yeah,
trying to make it
yeah.
more user friendly.
But the
But
thing is, you and I are pretty good at using the internet and stuff.
yeah,
But can you imagine someone a little older, always having to try to all the steps you have to go through to deal in cryptocurrencies? It's really sometimes it's too much,
Yeah, it
and you
is.
have to keep updating things, and you have to, yeah, I don't know, but
Got a lot of green activity right now, though.
yeah,
Oh man, it's never ending. But all right, this about 40 minutes. Get ready to draw down, man. As always, appreciate everybody for hanging out with us and getting a chance to
Vinny,
go over.
Vinny, sorry,
Go ahead.
Vinny Grant says Bitcoin is going to take over.
I mean, okay. So if you got some Bitcoin, you'll do fine then. But if you don't, then
Yeah,
you miss out. But in the meantime, I think one thing we're going to learn is it's important to have an assortment of things that you use now and things that you think will be of value down in the future, because everybody's game plan might be different, but have your foundation built on some form of weight, and of course you need
yeah.
calories, you need water, you need everything else on top of that. So we're entering into very interesting times, to say the least. But don't forget copper and nickel. Yeah, those are definitely mediums of exchange as well. It just takes a lot more to exchange something. Vinny Grant, man, appreciate you. It says, I just seen the movie Super Pet. It was about a guinea pig, which I would subliminally symbolize a dollar, and a dog played by The Rock who saved the world from a guinea pig who was destroying the world, and the dog crypto saved the world. And the dog crypto saved the world. Okay.
What's the dog called? Crypto?
I don't know. I think it's just how this symbolism. That's what he took away from the movie. So
I saw
Super
actually.
Pet.
I went out with my wife. When was it? Yesterday or something, and
Uh-huh.
I saw the advertisement for that movie on a bus. Super Pet.
Super Pet.
And
I have it.
I mean, I used to like when my daughter was younger, taking her to watch these kind of movies, but I haven't been to those anymore.
All right, because I'm trying to figure out. I haven't seen the movie, so Super Pets. Let me find out what it is. So is this it here? Is it
So
live?
who's the dollar then? Is the guinea pig? Or?
I have no idea. Yeah, my boys are not
I
interested in
like
this
that. I like the super dog there. He looks funny.
stuff. Oh man. All right. Well, let's get it dialed down, man. As always, it's good to connect, and it's going to be an interesting
Yeah, the dog's
remainder of
name
summer.
is Crypto.
He said the dog is crypto. The dog name is crypto. So in his picture, it's two dogs though. Which dog is it? The big dog? Vinny, what dog is crypto? Is it the left or the right? I'm assuming the left. There ain't no
The
dog.
le-
Yeah, the guinea pig, Super
but
Pets.
he's got a gold necklace there.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like
Almost
crypto
like the
to
movie,
me.
but that's where it's going from. All right, man. All right, well, Super Pets. Well, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Get out and get some sun, have some fun, and definitely, stay prayed up, get your weight up, and everything in between. You know how we do it. Any last thoughts, Mario, that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, just try to avoid all the noise and all these, China, Taiwan, the UK,
Mm-hmm.
conservative party leadership. Just focus on yourself, your family, your friends, and the community,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, tighten your belts. I would say as well, because I think the inflation is going to continue, unlike Mr. Musk.
Yeah, yeah. Things will become a little bit more challenging. So definitely, it's going to be it's a great learning opportunity for people to really begin brushing up on skills that they have not used in a long time, just because of whatever else, as well as learning new skills. Like, this is a great time to deploy yourself
Yeah,
and be a
yeah,
blessing to other people. So yeah, lots of opportunity through the internet. It's going to be more
yeah.
entrepreneurs created in the
Don't
next
try to
couple of.
let it get you down. I mean, I follow these guys on YouTube. They're golfers. They're
Mhm,
only in their early 20s. They're from the States.
mhm,
And I've been following them for 3, 4 years. And they used to do trick shots before. Now they're huge. They're getting invited to play all over the world.
yeah,
And they're making a very good living from it. So there is opportunity everywhere. But you need to be aware of what's going on as well, I think.
yeah. Somebody said start saving up for winter bills. And so yeah, like
Mm,
it's gonna be a little
yeah.
pricey. Alternative sources, get your wood burning stove, and might have to chop some wood down. And so yeah, I'm trying to figure out all types of things on my side, because I don't want them high bills either. But all right, everybody, well, be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Peace.